Many people, myself included, consider Cowboy Bebop to not just be one of the greatest anime ever made, but one of the most iconic pieces of fiction in general. 26 solid 10 out of 10 episodes that show the life and travels of these four misfit people that really have no business being coupled with one another, just trying to make ends meet and buy themselves some food, using the only skills they have and what comes naturally to them: bounty hunting, and each one of them having a dark and scrambled past that is slowly unveiled throughout the course of the series. It's filled with action, drama, suspense, humor, and a jazz soundtrack that somehow contrasts perfectly with the sci-fi western setting. The show is so well constructed and perfectly paced, as well has a definitive ending that nothing else after it was really needed. But look, after finally washing away the soured taste of that live-action remake from Netflix last year, oh god, I decided to rewatch the only other piece of Cowboy Bebop media there is, which is Cowboy Bebop the movie, or also known as Cowboy Bebop Knocking on Heaven's Door, a reference to the Guns N' Roses song, as all the episode titles of the original anime series were all references to classic rock or jazz themes in one way or another. It was released 3 years after the anime series in 2001, and is a full-fledged 2-hour film starring all of the original cast of Bebop. How is this possible, considering the ending of the anime, if you know it? Well, this takes place in between episodes 22 and 23, so that's after the episode with Cowboy Andy. I love that guy, for real. But really, it doesn't matter too much. Similar to the format of the anime, this is a standalone story and won't affect anything in the show. So if you're worried about watching it in order, well, you would watch this after episode 22. But if you already watched the entire anime series straight through and then watch this, well, that's how it was released, so you're also not wrong. But I gotta say, this movie is incredibly impressive for so many reasons. First and foremost is that it really feels like a movie.
You know, my favorite thing about the movie is it feels like a movie.
What I mean is that if you decided to watch this with no previous knowledge of Cowboy Bebop, it could also work perfectly fine just as a film. Right in the beginning of the film, we are showcased to Spike and Jet and who they are, what they do, and their differences in execution of the plans. We get snippets of Spike's past later on, and we learn that Jet was a former cop. We don't learn anything about the fact that Faye was frozen in time at one point, but her personality is on full display. We see Ed work her magic as an expert hacker and also a full-time spaz. And when the bounty for a terrorist goes up for 300 million wulong, well, the team jump on the opportunity, and the film just goes. It gives you everything that you need to understand right away in its setup, and then you're just on board for the ride. And when I say it really feels like a movie, I really mean that. Maybe giving this compliment to an anime doesn't seem like a positive, but it is in this case, and that's that this feels like a live-action movie. Not just in story structure, but the sheer attention to detail of the lived-in world of Cowboy Bebop. Even the opening credits have these animations of random civilians just living in the city the movie takes place in and doing mundane, regular things, and it feels like someone just took a camera out and filmed actual people. The animation is so subtle and lifelike, and it takes you in completely and makes the entire city come to life. Another scene later involving Spike just walking around town, asking people questions, having a cigarette break on the bench, walking through the marketplace. It all just feels like they went on location somewhere and actually filmed it. And then you remember, people animated this, and it looks phenomenal. But not just that, the casual mundane stuff is impressive enough, but then there's the action scenes. My god. Confidently, even as a huge fan of the series, the action and fight choreography in the movie far surpasses the series. This is better choreographed than most mainstream live-action films nowadays. The gunplay, the martial arts, you see every punch, every kick, how their bodies turn, how Spike spins the mop like a bow staff. It's all so incredibly fluid, and you're able to follow it just like you're watching a real choreographed fight scene in a John Wick movie or something. When guns fire off in this movie, you feel the impact of them. There's one time where a bystander gets shot in the head during the train sequence, and it feels so viscerally real that it actually makes me uncomfortable. I honestly cannot praise this movie enough for its animation quality and the intensity of the fights. As for the actual story of the movie, to be honest, I think the premise is kind of basic, kind of simple. However, the way that it's pulled off just works, and largely that is because of this movie's villain, Vincent Villaju. This guy is a fucking monster. Tall, strong, skilled, ex-military, and with an extremely attractive beard, if I do say so myself. I will have to spoil the movie a little bit in order to talk about Vincent, so if you don't want to know anything about the plot, if you haven't seen it, you can check out of the video now. But as far as Cowboy Bebop antagonists go, Vincent is right up at the top for me. In the beginning of the movie, he blows up a tanker that's carrying some kind of biological disease, and it happens to be COVID-19. I'm just kidding. But, I mean, it's kind of like that. See, he and a bunch of other soldiers were used like lab rats in this testing of an experimental drug and also the immunity to it. Vincent developed the immunity with his blood, but everyone else died in the process. But there were also side effects with it. It gave Vincent these fleeting memories and amnesia and visions of glowing butterflies. But the idea behind the movie and the character and the theme of it all is this sense of not being able to tell dreams from reality. Are Vincent's memories actually real? Did he make it all up? Are the butterflies real? Is he still living, or is he in some kind of purgatory? And because he kind of lives in this in-between state of fantasy and reality, it makes him both incredibly methodical, creating a plan and knowing every element to it down to its last minute detail, but at the same time, he's also incredibly reckless, like just firing his gun off like it's nothing in the monorail train over and over, not caring one bit as he tries to hit Spike, and Spike tries to pursue him a bit more tactically. Vincent lives in an isolated world. He plays this checkers game, which is meant to eliminate all the marbles on the board except for the very last one. When one is left, you win. And for Vincent, he is the only one left. The only one from his experiment and the only one for his plans moving forward. His only ties to his prior life are with a girl named Elektra, working for an elite branch of an agency, but also unknowingly safe from the virus due to her prior relationship with Vincent. Now, I wouldn't say there's any kind of love story in this movie or at play, but I would say that when dealing with the division between what's real and what's a dream, and the regular themes of Cowboy Bebop, the series, where Spike is saying that he's watching his past kind of like a dream that he can't wake up from. My favorite quote from Vincent is saying that in all of his days, only the ones that he spent with Elektra felt truly real. And maybe I'm feeling sentimental at the moment, I'm not sure, but there's such a truth to that when it comes about how you feel about somebody that you truly loved and is no longer in your life. Just like the original show, I think the Cowboy Bebop movie gives you everything that you could possibly want. Action, humor, suspense, thrilling moments. Now, obviously, it doesn't get too deep into the main characters' lives or their past because all that is for the show. And it makes sense, especially if the movie is canon, because everything about them will eventually be explored in the actual show. But for the movie itself, well, they are all acting within their own glory and perfectly within character, taking on a bounty and a mission that is way over their heads. But just as Jet tries to explain, similar to a game of shogi, you need to think 100 moves ahead. Or, like Spike, try not to think at all and just enjoy the vibes. I seriously think Cowboy Bebop the movie is one of the better anime series turned to films, or a film that takes place within the anime canon, whatever you want to call it. For me, I give it the highest of praise, and it's another 10 out of 10 for me. Can't recommend this movie enough, especially if you are a Cowboy Bebop fan. I think that you will be pleasantly surprised of the quality of this movie. So let's all rewatch it together and just forget the live action ever existed. Anyways, guys, if you have seen the movie, let me know what you think about it down below in the comments. Let me know your first time watching it. Where were you? How young were you? What was it like? All that kind of stuff. And what do you think about the story and its themes, or Vincent as a character? Thank you, as always, for watching this and for giving my channel a chance. I really, really appreciate it, you guys. And if you would like to, go ahead and like the video and leave a comment, because it'll help me out. And you could subscribe if you want to for more manga, anime, movie, and other kind of reviews. And if you want to support the channel on that extra level, I do have channel memberships turned on, Patreon, and also a merch store down below. Other than that, guys, thank you truly, truly, truly so much for watching, and I'll talk